Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome. Welcome to Facebook Live. This is probably the last recording for October. The next time we meet, we will meet in the month of November. Unbelievable. It is the 27th of October, year 2021. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are joined by a couple of fellow members of our group. Good evening, Michelle. We are joined with Michelle, who's been on a spiritual path for quite a few years. And then we also have Ken with us. Good evening. And most of the members of the panel are not able to make it today. So it's you and Ken, Michelle. And if Caesar joins, Caesar is the one that I don't have any information on. Caesar may join late because that's what he normally does. So I'll ask the first question. We'll dig into the first question itself. So Summer asks, why is the worst thing a prisoner can get is solitary confinement? And Caesar just joined, so I'll repeat. Let me wait for Caesar. Good evening, Caesar. Thank you so much for joining. You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, I am.
Thank you.
And I apologize. I fell asleep on y'all last week.
Not a problem. I was like, all these women, their voices were so melodious that it sounded like a lullaby and you fell asleep, which is so beautiful, so sweet, so precious. Thank you. So Caesar is a seasoned member of our panel, and Caesar is has been doing channeling as well as spiritual. He gives spiritual advice to quite a few members. He has his own group that he provides advice to family and friends as well as his group members. So the question, while you were joining us, the question that Summer asked Caesar is, why is the worst thing a prisoner can get is solitary confinement? And I'll start with Michelle. You want to talk about it? Why is the worst thing a prisoner can get is solitary confinement?
That's an interesting question. And that I'm here to answer that. I have kind of not a direct experience, but an indirect experience because my husband was in Cuba, was raised in Cuba, and he did not want to serve in the military. So he was imprisoned because he didn't agree with the communist regime, and he served. And he escaped, and then they caught him and he had to return, and he was in solitary, I think, for about 2 weeks. And he doesn't talk much about that experience, but I can only imagine that we're social beings. I mean, look at us. We're here in community on Zoom because we want to connect with people that are like-minded or like-spirited as ourselves, right? So we seek social interaction, and to be denied that is kind of to be denied our humanity. I mean, we need, right? I think Pavlov, isn't the Pavlov's hierarchy of needs, right? Food, shelter, and then we're social. And that's to be denied that for weeks on end has to be really challenging. Until I guess you can break free of that, if you happen to have an awakening experience and then you use it, right? Then you use it as your practice. But I think it's probably one of the most challenging. You know, you're denied food, water, shelter. Beyond that, I think, yeah, solitary confinement has to be one of the most challenging. Because you're just denied any type of interaction. You're just with yourself. And you have to be really, really, I don't know, centered to be able to deal with that, you know? And I'm sure there are people that have, you know, that have awakened through that path of suffering through that, you know? But that was a very interesting question someone asked. I'm curious as to what made her ask that question.
She always comes up with stuff that I like that, the curiosity of her mind leads her to questions that actually feeds this panel. So I love the creativity and brilliance.
Very different. And it's interesting that I'm here to because my husband doesn't really talk about it, but I know, maybe when we first started dating, I could remember more of that situation. But I can tell you that all that suffering served him well. And now he tells me, I am very thankful for all the hardships that I suffered in Cuba. And he's got gratitude for that, because that resiliency that was birthed in him because of all the hardships. And he doesn't sweat the small stuff. And it slides right off of him because of all the suffering. So it's a beautiful teacher, but it's like a sword. I mean, I'm sure that's got to be very difficult one. So
it could be a blessing. It could be a moment of grace, or it could be something that breaks you and you fall apart and you become worse of a person. You could go two ways, right? Because if we take the example of Nelson Mandela in his solitary confinement wrote the best book on forgiveness, right? He forgave all those that imprisoned him for speaking against apartheid. The same thing, there is a person that even spoke, I think in one of Eckhart's foundation events, Shaka Senghor, who was in solitary confinement. He was in for a murder, when he was 16 or 17 years old, but then learned this lesson of forgiveness, and he forgave, they forgave him. The family, the person he murdered, that family forgave him for the murder, right? So it was like a beautiful lesson of forgiveness. And now he's into rehabilitation of people who are incarcerated. So he does a lot of work around incarceration. But that's what, it either breaks you or it opens you up. So
yeah, and maybe at the time he was young, right? 18, 19, very young to learn that lesson. So there was always that hunger, right? After you get out of something, right? He didn't have a penny to pay for anything. He had to find his way. And at the moment, you're going through the suffering. So for him, that didn't happen right away, that gratitude. Only now, as he's older, is he able to look back and say, whoa, that fed my resiliency. And because of that, I'm able to overcome so much and not suffer because of it, because, he cultivated that muscle at a young age. And yes, it could have gone the other way where he didn't, I guess there was enough of foundation for him, because he could have been, just resentful and, beaten up by the experience. But no, that wasn't his path. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Ken, did you want to say something about this?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Excellent answers. Excellent. Yes. Solitary confinement. Definitely. It's either going to nudge us and put us back further into the pain body and back to our subconscious, and we can either go crazy or we can surrender and we can forgive ourselves, or we can start praying, and then that's a whole new energy field. So for someone who has to go to jail for that, it's got to be meddling. It's got to be very difficult if they're trying to do it on their own. And so it's something where if they can, that can be the beginning of their path, and it could actually help them. It's just like somebody who is going to relapse. It's a form of relapse, and that will give them a chance to rethink what they've done. can they remorse? Can they go deeper within themselves? So it's something where it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength. And so I really, really feel that I'm thinking actually of myself, of what I'm working through. And even as you asked that question, it brought up my fears. And so I'm realizing more and more that these are opportunities, or a chance for anyone to go deep within and realize that this can be a blessing, and that being in that type of energy field, if we can look at it as a spiritual lesson, there's going to be an opportunity to wake up. So thank you.
Thank you. Caesar, you want to speak about this? Why is the worst thing a prisoner can get is solitary confinement?
I'm not sure that's a punishment. I served a couple of years back, 15, 20 years ago, and it was the time in my life where I was placed in solitary confinement, and I bumped across that book, and it forever changed my life. So today I continue to work with people who have recently got out of prison, or I talk to many family members whose loved ones are serving time, and very similar situation. And the first thing we do is mail them books. The Power Now specifically. But it usually, in my experience in talking to many of people who've been in that situation, it seems like they all, as Ken stated, took it as an opportunity, because when you are in a prison life and you're running around with 1,000 other people who's lost their way, it is the most wonderful opportunity you will have probably in your life when you are sat down with yourself, because what more do you have to do? It seems like the absolute perfect time in your life, when it goes just to show that everything happens at the exact time it is supposed to, for everybody. And I believe the vast majority of these people that serve time in solitary confinement, I would say most of them take that as an opportunity to go within, and that begins their journey of finding out who they really are, or who they're not, I should say. And many of them have continued, at least in my experience of talking to probably well over 100 people over the last few years. Many of them had started this beautiful journey, and they continue it today, and they most credit that time of their life, having been in that situation. Beautiful answers by Ken and Michelle. We're social beings. I know people that are not behind bars who are in somewhat of a solitary confinement. They basically build walls around them to keep people out, because they think, women are bad, because they got hurt by somebody, or, they don't trust nobody. But them same walls that you build to protect yourself are also imprisoning you. Doesn't matter on what side you are, you're still imprisoned in a big way. So, that's really important to know. You don't have to be, a prisoner, even if you are behind walls or in solitary confinement. You can literally be free, regardless of the situation or where you're at. So that's why I say I don't know if that's really the greatest punishment. Is that, I would say the worst punishment would probably be just throwing them in the general population of the prison, and there you go, be with everybody else and do the things that criminals do around here, and it's nuts. So I think many people actually seek that out in prison, because the prison life is just too much for them. There's too much going on. There's too much conniving, and everybody's, it's a world of opportunity, and they get whatever they can get, however they can get it. So people actually seek that solitary confinement in a way, knowing. But when you're forced to do that, I think it's, you know, for most people, they take that as, you know, that opportunity again there, to get it turned around. You know, they're in there for a reason. Hopefully they have an out date and they're not going to spend the rest of their lives there. And so it doesn't matter if they're serving 2 years or 20 years. That always seems like the greatest time that you will spend behind bars, in solitary confinement, to go within, find out, you know, why you keep putting yourself back there, how you got there in the first place, and is that really who you are? And that's when they find out they're not who they thought they was, or they are who they didn't think they was, and vice versa. But so, yeah, it's a tough road, but we learn our greatest lessons from our biggest battles, our darkest times. You know, our most trying times always provide us the greatest lessons, hands down.
Beautiful. I like your that's the best blessing that they could ever have, is be in solitary confinement. Wishing that everyone that is in solitary confinement actually uses that as an opportunity. The one thing, since I am a lover of limiting beliefs, is what is their limiting belief that caused them to come to that? I'm sure they have a belief, and this is something that Seth says in Nature or Personal Reality, is if the wardens and the people supervising the prisoners feel that they have to use force, then even the belief exists in all the prisoners that the world is evil, that force needs to be used. So they are attracting, that is their limiting belief. So this is a great opportunity for them to examine their limiting belief and see, hey, what belief got me into this solitary confinement, and then let go of it. So I'll move to the next question. This is from Sandhya. She says, I have a question for discussion. Maybe if time permits, please bring it up. It is commonly heard from spiritual leaders that do not expect anything from future, as the future is so unknown. Yet, from Dr. Joe Dispenza and Abraham Hicks, we get to hear to form a blueprint and see the future as you want to see it. I'm confused between expectations from future. What is the ideal practice? Michelle, you want to get started on that? And I'm sure by the time you get to Caesar, he's going to have a whole thing on Abraham Hicks. So go ahead.
No, very interesting, because when I started reading Joe Dispenza, I had that same question.
Synchronicity, right?
I had that same question. I said, but we're supposed to be in the present moment, and yet we're trying to manifest. So I think when I started to talk to my husband about it, like, it starts to formulate a little bit better. We live in the present moment. But even still, we plan, right? When Eckhart, we're talking about something in the future that we want to do, when we're planning, we're planning. And we're not resisting whatever comes up in that planning. There might be an obstacle, and then you accept the obstacle, and then you move forward. And so it's in the how of the planning, right? So if we're sitting here in meditation and we have this goal for the future, what we want to manifest in the future, it's kind of like we're bringing that vision in, but without that, with acceptance of whatever happens on the way to whatever we want to manifest. So accepting whatever happens, good or bad, because you don't know if it's good or bad, right? That story that I think you even brought up, Poonam, the other day, about the, I don't know if it was Wayne Dyer or Eckhart Tolle, but the guy goes off to war, and then I don't know the whole story, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, something could be good and it may appear good, but then something else happens and it's for bad. So you never know how things are going to turn out. In other words, you never know. And so basically you just have to accept everything that comes to you on that path. because you don't, and you keep trying to manifest what it is that you want for yourself, but with acceptance, with whatever comes. I don't know. That's, maybe there's a better explanation. I'm just not verbalizing it, but I did have that same question. So whoever can answer it a little bit better, more clear, I would greatly appreciate that too.
I'll come to the Dr. Joe Dispenza after everyone answers, because I know Caesar will have a lot of wealth of information about Abraham Hicks. So after he speaks, I'll talk about how Dr. Joe Dispenza is trying, what Dr. Joe Dispenza is trying to do through his being in the future. So thank you, Michelle. Ken, did you want to say something about this?
I'm going to ask that Caesar go next.
Caesar, go next. Are you going to speak after Caesar?
I would like to, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ken. Go ahead, Caesar.
Okay, so expectations. What was the actual question?
So,
I can talk on expectations.
do you know, like Abraham Hicks says, tune in to get on the, what disc are you on? Are you on the high flying disc or are you on the sympathy disc? Right? So she's always trying to get us to the high flying disc. So she says, why don't you think about how it feels like spending time with your grandchild, or think about how does it feel like being around the ocean. So they're always taking us to somewhere else, right? Not the present moment. So that's what Sandhya is asking. Abraham Hicks talks about it, and I'll explain what Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing after that.
That is just a method, I think, that Abe talks about, of getting out of your way. Because when you set an intention, as far as expectations are a fine line. In one aspect, as far as our spirituality goes, in many religions like Buddhism and stuff, or philosophies, even down the road's end, it's not good to have expectations, because that leaves a void within you that suggests that you want something. However, when it comes to the law of attraction, you can actually use the expectations as a tool, and it's very brief when you do that. So you have an intention, and I would expect to get it. Now, I've learned to dial in exactly what it is that the soul is wanting, that I proceed to manifest, opposed to what Caesar wants. Well, if the little girl wants to manifest 20 ice creams, you better be careful, because if you get it, that's going to be bad for you. But if you're manifesting things that are good for your well-being and good for your soul and good for others, and then I'm all about it. But the expectations there are happen almost immediately, and then they're let go of, because you're trying to create the feeling of having it, and the expectations of getting things. Now, there's a difference between the expectation of things versus people. You can't have any expectations about how people are going to act or treat you. So that should just be wiped right out. Yes. But as far as manifesting, it's an important tool, because you ask and it is given. Now it's your job to align with it, and part of that means getting out of your way. Feel like you already have it. And like Eckhart said, if the only prayer you ever said was thank you, that would be enough. That's because it is there. So your job is just to simply align with what it is you're after. And, Abe speaks much of creating these, like when she's saying, future aspects, think about your grandchild, or think about this. All she's trying to get you to do is raise your vibrational frequency. And that's usually got everything to do with abundance and gratitude. And it doesn't matter for what, but that is an easy way to raise your vibrational frequency. And that puts you in alignment with all that is good, or some of what you want. So, I mean, expectations, again, it's a fine line, I believe. I don't carry expectations with me. However, when I experience some type of contrast, and I understand the desire is born immediately, I'm aware of that, and I expect the opposite of that to happen for me, and it usually does, pretty spontaneous anymore. But the expectations, again, that fine line. So
And they're not talking about expectations. They're just saying, they're not talking about expectations. They're just talking about why do we have to think in the future? Like what Abraham Hicks says, think about spending time with your dog. How did it feel? Like the appreciation and gratitude, right? So it's not about expectations.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what the question was for. I'm sorry. I apologize. So the question is, why do we project into the future to have these thoughts? Why is it necessary to escape the present moment and get there?
Why is Abraham Hicks saying, think about the future? Like she's not saying stay in the present, right?
Right. Okay. She's trying to give you create the reality that in which you desire. And by imagination, I guess, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's different than expectation for sure. My apologies. It can. You know, I guess you know, to visual, I don't personally come out of the present moment that much, especially in any really situations. So I don't have a whole lot on that actually.
Okay.
As far as, you know, when I do look ahead, yeah, it's almost like segment intentions, right? You're trying to picture what it is that you want, you know, what you foresee your reality to be, and then it's up to you to create that and bring it to, you know, fruition, right? Other than that, yeah, I don't know.
You good, Caesar?
Yeah.
Your 2 cents? Since Kelly is not here, I'm going to collect pennies from Caesar.
There's one of them.
That's one of them? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Caesar. Patricia, did you want to say something?
Actually, I had a thought because I'm not too familiar with Abraham Hicks. I mean, I know of her, the law of attraction and stuff, but I didn't practice her methods. But Joe Dispenza, I did a few affirmations. And being in the now and like visualizing the future, it's still being in the now. And I think what it does, it brings up that feeling that it's pleasant, right? That it's the possibility, because most of us suffer. Our past is full of suffering. So when the thoughts are being constantly on that level of vibration, we kind of have no hope almost to get out. So I think that by being in the present moment, but thinking of something so nice and positive, it's helping us in that moment, you know, visualizing or raising the vibrations maybe. And then we can only maybe imagine it in the future, because I guess in the past, unless we had wonderful experiencing in the past, like some visualization take us to imagine your favorite place in nature. So it's not like we're gonna go there in the future, but we have that place. Many of us had that, spend vacations or something in the past. So it's also bringing the image that it's, you know, it's not existing, it's not happening now. I'm not on the beach right now, but the feeling, it's like bringing it alive, vibration purpose maybe. So whatever I think frees us from that low, negative, I guess, vibration. And or maybe another thought, if there is all those possibilities, like in the quantum field, right, of different versions of now or the future, why not go after the good ones? For us, I mean, the pleasant ones, because we are being tortured enough, I think, and that what brought us to the present moment. But now we have maybe the power to actually choose, since we're present, what experience we want to have. So even like Eckhart Tolle says, not he brings that quotation from Shakespeare, nothing is better or good, the thinking make it so. So now we, like being in the present moment, can choose maybe how we look at things. Do we see it as blessings, everything, or miracles, or the bad thing? And I also have a feeling that I'm in a train. We are in the cart of the train, and the future already happened. We're just getting there by being in the now. So it's always now, but we are getting to some future now that already exists somehow, you know, like a station. We just didn't get there yet. So it's like pretty whoo concept. And then you have a lot of realities that are happening simultaneously. So we can like almost switch the train. I mean, it's crazy how all of this, it's mind-blowing almost, but why not, you know?
Thank
I
you.
like-
Thank you,
Sorry.
Patricia. Go ahead, Ken. You were going to say something?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I love what Patricia said. It actually helped me to get into that feeling. And for me, a lot of this is just being childlike,
Yeah.
being very creative, and then using my imagination as a child. And I used to, for me, going into the woods, going to the ocean, looking at flowers, plants, anything that's in nature, it actually ignites my natural instincts. And I've really, it's something where if I get into my thinking mind, that's what throws me off. I either stay in past or future, and it takes me away from being present. And more now, I'm remembering what I loved, what I liked. Even when I did my my landscape design work, what I would do is I would go for a walk in the woods. I would go to a park. I would think of what season I love. And then with my clients, I would ask them, because I would refer them as healing gardens. So that in itself is a mindset. So think about what you love, think about what makes you happy, colors, textures, seasons, and when do you want this garden to really show up for somebody? So that in itself helps me to realize that by going inside and really being present and in the now, it allows me to get into that feeling. And even now, like I'll go for a walk either by the ocean. What do I want? I'll ask myself, what do you want today? I'll have a conversation with myself rather than thinking there's something wrong with that. And another one was about loving myself. I'm learning to love and accept all of me. And I mean all of me, even my shadow sides. And actually, those are the sides that need to be loved and the yearning to be loved. So just pay attention, go inside, and have a conversation with myself. Okay, is this hard to deal with? Okay, confront it. There's other aspects of myself that will be there with me. So it's like mothering myself, fathering myself. So that helps me to have compassion and a deep understanding with what I didn't understand that was hidden from my view. So it's I just love, I'm learning to love that aspect of myself now rather than think there was something wrong with it. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
We have, since Eileen is not here, I'm checking the chat, so making sure that we didn't miss anything. And Louise is with us after a while, so welcome, Louise. So grateful that she's there. Mike is there as well. He's always been diligent about being here for the Facebook Live Q&As. So we're grateful to Mike as well. And of course, our brilliant Summer is here.
Mhm.
So, okay. What Abraham Hicks is saying is exactly what Eckhart is saying, is exactly what Byron Katie says, or any spiritual teacher says, or even Dr. Joe Dispenza, what he is saying. So every spiritual teacher is saying not so much as be in the present. They are saying increase your vibrational frequency to the level of presence. Presence is a high vibrational frequency state, where we are experiencing the emotional, at the emotional level, we are experiencing this oneness, this cosmic consciousness, this unity consciousness, this loving kindness, this compassion. So when we raise our vibrational frequency to that level, okay, we can live day in and day out, do everything with that vibrational frequency, right? What Dr. Joe Dispenza says is you can drag your body to making the coffee, drag your body, like you're dragging your body through space and time to do the next thing, right? Like you're paying your mortgage, so you're going to your job, you're working at your job, so you're dragging your body. Now it's going to take you 30 years. But what is Dr. Joe Dispenza's key method? He wants immediate remission, right? He wants immediate results. He doesn't want to wait 30 years. He doesn't want you to have your cancer for 30 years or your Parkinson's for 30 years and suffer it, right? He wants immediate remission. So what Abraham Hicks and Dr. Joe Dispenza are saying, Abraham Hicks calls it the vortex. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it the quantum field. So what they're saying is in that vortex for Abraham Hicks, or in that quantum field, is a possibility. Like we are stuck in this three-dimensional world. There are infinite possibilities of who we can be. And what Dr. Joe Dispenza is saying is raise your vibrational frequency, tune into the potential where you can pull that experience right in that moment. That experience of if you had a tumor in your body, you're pulling a new body, a new mind, in a new time, in a new environment. It's like he almost uses the examples. One example he uses is you look at two mirrors at a mall. Do we not, or you know that sometimes when we go to the state fair or something, there's this mirror, this room that has multiple mirrors, and we just see infinite shadows of our own self. That's what he's referring to, that they're infinite reflections of our infinite possibilities of who we are. Pull the possibility where you don't have the tumor, where you don't have that huge big lump in the back of your spine, or if your spine is broken, you're quadriplegic, pull that experience where you're not a quadriplegic and you can just walk. And that's what people are doing. They raise their butt. But we have to realize, like in Dr. Joe Dispenza, in a progressive advanced workshop, there are about 1,000 people. And that's why I beg and beg and beg everyone to come to the group meditation, is because when people join together, the power of that group meditation is entirely different than one person doing it by themselves and you're not joined by other people, right? It has to be, yeah, they may be like in the quantum realm, there's no time concept, but it does help when people join together and then they are doing the group meditation. So he's saying, pull that experience. And so that's why he's saying, go into the future and get into the future self, which is that experience. He's not saying go into the future where you have more wealth or more abundance or anything of that sort. He's saying raise your vibrational frequency, which is what Eckhart is saying. Align yourself with your inner beingness. Eckhart did a whole conscious manifestation course on that, right? And then pull that experience. Was that more understandable, Michelle? Did that help the blueprint? I'm going to use you like as though you're Sandhya, and
it helps. I think that you have to be careful, because I think it can, if you don't understand it very well, it can be an expectation. And so,
and it shouldn't be an expectation. You just have to experience that high vibrational state, and once you know the high vibrational state, you maintain it.
I don't know, for me, when I've done Joe Dispenza's meditation and I'm projecting what I want to have peace, freedom, joy, no matter what the circumstance. So I'm not manifesting a certain, I mean, that's just me. I'm a healthy individual, but I can imagine for someone that has cancer, they want to be in remission, or they want to live cancer free. And that for me, that aligns, for me, it aligns more with Eckhart's teachings, to always want to bring those qualities of acceptance and joy and freedom, because that's how we want to live every moment of every day of our life, regardless of the circumstance. Not so easy sometimes, obviously, when we're triggered or something happens in our lives that may cause suffering or a response or reactivity, Yes, I understand it better.
But you don't, once we've changed into that new body, new mind, and that's the thing, we are no longer the old self. So we are no longer the self that is not peaceful, not surrendered. We are now this new person that has that high vibrational state, right? So we almost are causing our own like we are causing almost like a Eckhart kind of experience, right? The white light experience. He's making them cause that white light kind of experience so that they can be the new person that is constantly in that high vibrational state. Because if they lower their frequency, then they'll come back. The old beliefs, so their limiting beliefs, cause them their sickness, right? Cause them their illness, or cause them their financial trouble, whatever trouble that suffering they may be in. So when they move, when they transition, when they made that swap in the quantum field into, now they're another body. The whole body is another body. The vibrational frequency is a totally different vibrational frequency. And we'll realize, that like that person is so full of joy. You should see like his testimonials. That person is so full of joy and seeping with humility and gratitude. Like he looks at that person and says, isn't she beautiful? And it's not like physical beauty. You can see the radiance, like, how we see the radiance from Eckhart. You can see the radiance from that person. That's what that person is doing, is they're becoming that, they're causing their awakening. And within a second, but their attendees, he has a lot of people that follow him. He has a staff that is high vibrational frequency. He has Heelys that have high vibration. So you're in a field, you're in a cocoon, and he's pulled you away from, don't use your cell phone, don't watch TV. Now just stay in this room, and you're spending day after day after day in that high vibrational state, and that'll cause you to cause that person to break open.
That's beautiful for that moment, right? You're in that cocoon for the amount of time, a weekend, a week, whatever that, right? And then what happens when you go home? When you
go home, you're still the new person, just like Eckhart.
They maintain that outside of the cocoon.
Yes, because they are now like Eckhart. How does Eckhart maintain his vibrational frequency? He had it at 28 years of age. He's still the same at 72, 73, right?
So you're saying everybody that goes to these retreats, everybody's successful when they leave and they're able to maintain that?
If they've had the experience, if they do the testimonial and they've had that white light experience, then they have. There's some guy on there called Matt, and he's done testimonials year after year, and you can see his progression. Like he heals himself a little bit more. And I think he was a stroke victim or something. Like he was all paralyzed, and then now he can kind of walk. Now he's a straighter after a few more years, and he's not a young person. He may be like 50 years old, in his late 50s or something, late 40s or late 50s. He doesn't look like a young, like he's not a teenager or 20 years old. And you can see he like straightens up, and now more movement, like his hands are like curled up and then it's stretched. So they have healed. There's one woman who was
maybe I just haven't seen I just started with Dr. Joe Dispenza and reading the book, and maybe I just haven't seen enough the testimonials, you know what I mean? Like
they are a totally different person. They become different, just like Eckhart would have become a whole new body, a whole new mind, a whole new self, and maintained it after 28. Yeah, they have to work towards, if they have any karmic content, they have to work on it, just like Eckhart did, right? He didn't complete it after 28. So good questions.
Yeah, very good.
Go ahead, Kim.
So the staying on that higher frequency energy level. So what comes first? Like almost something has to throw you. So maybe it's the suffering or whatever, and then you can't stand it anymore. And then through practice of meditation, you're raising your vibrations. And then you just have to do it every day, the meditations, to keep yourself there, right?
Caesar, you want to answer that? Thank you.
Okay, I was having a little audio problem there. Oops. Okay. Yeah. All right, so what was the actual question again here?
I mean, how to stay there, because I think we kind of all experience, like we think we healed, we get that cool energy, higher frequency after the meditation.
How to stay in the higher vibration field?
Yeah, and then the reality kind of, you go out there, there's a lot of people with low vibrations, they pull you in, and sometimes you just can't understand.
So, I mean, what works for me is when you have an interruption in your, we start our day off and create, we try to get in this state before we even put our feet on the floor. That's a practice like anything else, okay? So try to get your vibrations up before you even get out of bed. And you just create that feeling of gratitude for whatever it is for 90 seconds and hold it there. And that's enough to stimulate it and create the momentum. Now you carry that throughout the day, and really all you got to do is smile. That keeps the gratitude level high. However, when something, would be considered negative happens, life still happens. It's important not to let it affect you. Let it come and let it go, because that's like a circuit breaker. You have this great, your frequency's up here, and you have this momentum that's carrying you within this, level of frequency that you're at. And when something negative happens, let's say somebody bumps into your car, that's a chain breaker. So that would break the momentum, basically, the current. And if you can immediately not allow that to gain any momentum and get back on track to that high flying disc, that's the way you can further maintain that degree of you know, gratitude or that elevated height of, you know, your vibrational frequency is to
I
not
think,
allow, you know,
yeah, I think I mistake, I think, being, you know, accepting and being happy, because certain events, even Eckhart says that, you know, situations sometimes it's not pleasant, but just let it be unpleasant. I think that, you know, for me, when I'm thinking high vibrations, like being high or happy, you know, you
yeah,
feel
it's not always about being, you know,
right. Not right.
Googling. I understand. Yeah, but you know something. I mean, but here's the cool thing. I mean, we have choice as our superpower, and something that I learned from Bashar is that you can literally, you know, when the situation happens that is unpleasant, change the definition, change the meaning of it, and give it a definition that serves you, one that works. You know, allow it to work for you. It doesn't always have to be unpleasant or bad. You know, there's something good within everything. I promise you, it's there. You just
Mm.
have to see it that way and allow it to be. So, and on the opposite end of the spectrum there, you know, embrace the unpleasantness of the moment, of course. But yeah,
So
ultimately,
maybe you're right. Maybe if we are on that higher frequency, even if situation happens that it's maybe not desirable, but then you are able to find what's good in the situation. Is it a lesson? Is it something, you know, that, so you picking up out of it the goodness versus just being pulled down with
for sure.
complaining and, you know, sadness and just, you know,
And let it
resistance
be.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, no resistance. Resistance is bad, always bad. Resistance is just suffering, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, and it is a practice. And like Ken was saying about opportunities, you know, there's a million little opportunities during the course of every day. You know that these little irritations bother you. You know, you're trying to write your paper and the dog's barking or the phone keeps ringing. Don't let them be irritations. Allow them to be opportunities, and practice, you know, surrendering to the isness of it that doesn't feel good. That would, you know, and that, you know, in a month from now, them things that you call irritations will become. I remember when them things used to bother me, you know, because if you really can't get past the little stuff throughout the day, what do you do when the, you know, the something big happens? Like when you know, a loved one passes or something like that. That's a way of preparing yourself, but it's also retraining yourself to understand that, you know, there is good in everything. And even if there's, you know, if you can't find the good in something, just know it will pass soon enough, right? Eckhart died to the past every moment. You know,
Mm.
get on to the next one, you know, because you have the ability to let something go as quick as it came. It's in a blink of an eye. Okay, that happened. Like, you know, my friend got a bad phone call today at work, and he came back and he had that look on his face. And I said, he goes, you know, he was waiting for me to ask him what happened, but I didn't want to keep feeding it, right? But the feed grows. And he finally said, and, you know, my daughter's girlfriend or my daughter's boyfriend, you know, packed up and left. And I said, why is that affecting you? And he's like, because I care about my daughter. I said, all right. Well, then 2 minutes later, you know, I see him stewing and he mentioned something again. I said, why are you still carrying that around? That was, you know, leave that where it was. Let the sleeping dog sleep. But yeah, so,
It's
but yeah,
opportunities to practice. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Everything is an opportunity when they're not so pleasant. Because like I said, at some point they're no longer irritations. You
Mm.
know, you can look back and see, but it's all through a practice, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you, Caesar.
Yes.
Michelle, did you want to say something about it?
Yeah, because things happen in life, right? So I remember an incident which was pretty harrowing for me. It was about 2 years ago, and I was in a really high state of vibration. I felt great that day. I mean, I remember I was in one of those, I was going hiking with a friend of mine. I get to the falls about 2.5 miles in, and I'm climbing over a log. It was wet. And I was so excited to get to the future, to see the falls, to get to the falls. And I fall back on my back on a bed of rocks. And I did not let myself stay there. I was such in shock that I lifted myself and pressured my hands to get up. And in so doing, I sliced my finger open to the tendon and dislocated my finger. So I'm here bleeding profusely. And there's no ambulance, right? I have to walk 3 miles back to my car to get out of the national park, which is another hour and a half. With now my friend had this random white cloth that she was carrying. And I even asked her, like, why are you, no, I just in case of anything. So we used that white cloth as a tourniquet, I washed it off with water, wrapped it, and she took off her shoelace and we made a tourniquet. And I had to walk 3 miles down with my head over my hand over my head. I could have freaked out. I could have and I was calm as a cucumber. I kept just maintaining presence. She was freaking out, but do you want to break? No, I take a 10-minute, 2-second break. Let's keep moving. We just got to get to the car. And everything was the present moment. Everything was the present moment. Went to the ER, did what they had to do. They, she cleaned it, tetanus shot, x-rayed it, put the dislocation back, said I had to go see a specialist. I wasn't sure if I torn the tendon. Went to the orthopedist, just kept maintaining presence through this whole thing. And the tendon, I didn't need an operation. The tendon didn't tear. I needed therapy, but now I have 2 crooked fingers because they will never go back to, well, I don't know if they will never, but they're crooked right now. I can use them. They're functional. They're hard. But now I look at that finger and it's a reminder to me of how I maintained presence that day. That was a gift. And as I was going down the mountain, I said, this is crazy. I'm in this state and I am so surrendered to it. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And I could have flipped out. I could have said, I can't believe this. My first hike of the summer, I could have made a whole story out of it, right? To me, that will always be a gift. No matter what happens, I know that I can maintain in a difficult situation your presence. So that was meant for me that day, and so things in life that can happen, right? Other moments, I will tell you that happened afterwards that I wasn't able to maintain presence. So I think it's just a journey, and then those moments where you kind of go back to that and you say, I did it once, I can do it again, But I was in a very high state vibrationally going into that day. So I was in the right mind, in that right heart space.
So the goal is to really have more and more of those moments and remember this feeling and stay there. And at some point, I guess maybe Eckhart is there 100% of the time. So that's where we want to get, right?
Yeah. But while we're in that, these are beautiful experiences, these experiences that people have that are able to, walk again, or what, they're miraculous, because that is miraculous. They're creating that miracle for themselves. But most of us maybe are not on that, maybe the shift isn't so quick, it's minor, right? So it's more of I think a daily, right? As to go through life and to bring that state of presence as much as we can to the day, to the minute, And then at the beginning, and sometimes even still when you're irritated, like it'll happen to me, and I'll say, I can see myself getting irritated. Like I know I'm not in the best space and I can see it happening. So you're the observer, right? And so that cracks it open, right? So you're not so identified with the story in your head about the complaining and and it's like, oh, okay, here it comes again, and then like, okay, this too shall pass. Eckhart says that, right? This too shall pass. And then, and then the story, and then I guess that resistance is less. It's less and less and less.
So you're not adding to the negativity. You just
see it for what it is, right? I'm irritated today, or I'm not, like, I didn't sleep well last night, which I know for me is a trigger when I don't have a good night's sleep or a couple of nights, that would be more of a trigger, because it takes energy, right? Everything is energy. And I think you have to be very aware, right? When you're when you're going through life and you're trying to maintain presence, and so sometimes things will slip in because you're not you're physically tired, and so you're not as aware, you know. But yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey for all of us.
This should be, thank you so much for that, Michelle. This should be synchronicity, because yesterday I watched a testimonial of this woman that was wearing flip-flops on her hike, and her flip-flops got stuck in a rock and she slipped, right? And she broke her ankle and probably a few more bones, and she reset it on her hike and walked down on a broken ankle. Then went to the, she was already doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations. So she went to an osteopath, she went to an orthopedic surgeon, and the surgeon said, you need surgery. And she said, no, I don't need surgery. I know how to heal this, right? So she went to an osteopath, and osteopath said, no, you need to go get surgery. And she said, no, you just need to work with me so that I can heal this by myself and I can heal it. And so she says that she did maybe 6 weeks of cryotherapy, like put her foot in ice bath for 20 minutes, 3 times a day. And then she did the meditation. She healed herself. She healed herself. She said maybe by 6 weeks, she was walking with a cane, and by 12 weeks, she was actually walking. And the osteopath said, you're a miracle, and because of what you did, we need to rethink how orthopedic surgery is done. You know, because they would have done the orthopedic surgery, right? Even I had like a weird pain in my calf. Eileen, when was it? Last year mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza. Not so much as Dr. Joe Dispenza. She was just saying she healed her. There was some, I think she had some, what is it called, if you have an allergy towards milk, she couldn't have milk products, right? It's called
Lactose intolerant.
Lactose intolerance. Perfect. Thank you, Caesar. I guess you know about lactose intolerance. So when she said that, I went, okay, what can I do? I have this pain, but what is it that can fix it? I just left it to the universe, right? Because I was doing meditation already. And so here comes the book, Cleanse to Heal. Somebody posts, one of my best friends, and now I am telling her, she just, I think randomly she was subscribing to Dr. Mike Hyman, and she was subscribing to Medical Medium. So she posted a post and it came up on my feed about Medical Medium. I looked at it and it kind of appealed to me. So I started his protocol, and that's all I needed was celery juice and magnesium glycinate. Now, I'm thinking if I would have gone to an orthopedic surgeon, he would have said, do some surgery, do some tendon surgery or something. And here, all it needed was, the only reason I knew that it was something very simple was because if I drank enough Gatorade, which even she's the one that I'll go on walks with, like we go on long walks, right? And so we are with each other for a couple of hours. So she looked at my Gatorade drinking and she said, look at the amount of sugar you're consuming, right? So I kind of knew that the Gatorade was fixing my problem. Like if I drank enough Gatorade, I wouldn't have that pain. So it's like celery juice has sodium salt. So I think it's a sodium salt deficiency. But if I would have gone to an orthopedic surgeon, they would have said, go get surgery done. You know, that's how Western medicine works, is they just know acute care. They don't know how to do the healing, actual healing. So the other pointer that I wanted to give about this is, as we are going through a spiritual cleansing, which is when we are raising our vibrational frequency and then coming down, raising our vibrational frequency and then coming down. One of the things that can happen is, and I talked about it in one of our Facebook Messenger chats, is we have pockets of adrenaline stuck in our body. It's become toxic now. And I was reading this chapter 25 in Cleanse to Heal about adrenaline, and what medical medium says, and this happens with the physical cleanse as well. As the cleanse is going on, the adrenaline is released and we feel an emotional heaviness. So your up and down, right, Patricia, can also be that because you're healing, okay, now that healing has released some more of the toxic pain body or something of that sort. So you're feeling a heaviness. So all that needs, and I have experienced because I'm doing the physical cleanse, right? I actually do the celery juice, like go through the whole cleanse process throughout the day. The past 3-4 months, I have been, there'll be a day, I'm like, I did my meditation, my day went fine. Why, what is this? Like suddenly somebody at work, when I'm on the call, will become explosive, or something will happen that sounds very bad, like you're saying, right? Like a bad incident. And I go, everything was fine. And then now I know there was some release. And because of that, that attracts that incident, right? And it is nothing to think about. It's just that something released, some kind of cleansing happened within us. Because of that, that pain body attracted something, and it's okay. Let it go. It's done. I just go into meditation and then I'm back into my vibrational frequency. But yeah, meditation is the key. And you can do body practice. I know Michelle does yoga. So Qigong, Kelly has classes if you want to subscribe to his classes. I think they're like $10 a class or something like that. His partner offers Qigong classes as well. So Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, that'll bring the body suppleness, right? You can do physical cleanse. And then, of course, I do 2 hours of meditation every day. That, like nothing, I won't call friends. I won't talk to people. If I've not done my meditation, like Tuesdays, Eileen was offering meditation. If I haven't done my 2 hours of meditation, I might miss her meditation because I'm in my own second hour of meditation, right? And it interferes with her time. So it's that important to me that I continue my meditation. And
how do you choose what meditation to use? Is it the same one every day, or?
I do sacred acoustics, the ones that I play during the group meditation. And now that I've picked up some of Dr. Joe Dispenza's, I love his Blessings of the Energy Center meditation. So I would probably do one of Blessings of the Energy Center and the other hour of sacred acoustics, but it will be 2 hours.
All right, thank you.
So, and it's a mix. It's a mix. Like there are different meditations with sacred acoustics. There's Spiral of Time. There's Event Horizon. So each one has a separate. So sacred acoustics, the way their meditation is, it's a mix of theta, alpha, beta, theta, or alpha and beta, or alpha and theta. So when they have that mix, the sound, every day the same meditation doesn't work. If you mix it, then it works. And you'll know what the effect is. Like you'll suddenly feel like a high. Like yesterday after my meditation, I just went and sat outside and I could just feel like the breeze, and it was starting to rain. I could feel the connection with the universe. Like it's like almost like you can feel the timbre and your inner being, the timbre of your inner being, like vibrating inside, like you can feel it. So that's how good your meditation should be, actually. And I would say if you have the time, do 4 hours of meditation, 6 hours of meditation, 8 hours of meditation. That is because once you do the meditation, then you can pull things out of the quantum field. I'll give a silly small example. So we make heavy metal, Louise is aware of this. We make heavy metal detox smoothie. One of the ingredients of the heavy metal detox smoothie is Wyman's wild blueberries, right? So my son was getting like the small packets of Wyman's wild blueberries, right? So I just told him, okay, I need Wyman's wild blueberries. But in my mind, and this is going back to Sandhya's, how do you pull things into your manifestation, right? In my mind, I went, how many small packets do we get? Why can't I have a 3-pound bag of wild blueberries? Because I make it like 2 or 3 times a week. But I didn't say that to my son, that I want the 3-pound bag, right? I let it go. I mean, the thought came, I need the big bag, and I let it go. I opened the freezer door yesterday to make the wild blueberry smoothie, and there was a 3-pound bag. He had bought the correct bag. There was no communication. I did not tell him. That's the manifestation to feel, like you were saying, right, Patricia, and Ken was saying the same thing. You have to feel the quality of that thing. You have to feel it into existence. But it's not so much about the future. You are in this present moment, feeling the quality of that object, right? And it's something as simple as I'm feeling the quality of that. I want wild blueberries. I want lots of wild blueberries because that's my dessert. Like I don't do dairy. I don't do, Caesar is also the same diet, right? No dairy, no ice cream, no this thing. So that's my ice cream / dessert / because there's some sweetness in there, right? Like when I make the smoothie, banana and wild blueberries. So there's some sweetness in it. That's my dessert. That's my ice cream / dessert 2 or 3 times a week. Go ahead, Ken, you were going to say something.
Poonam, the color of what you're wearing right now, I think the blueberries coming out of you.
I think so. Thank you.
I love this conversation about, and I'm thinking, Patricia, asking your question. In the morning, the first thing is I have gratitude and I say thank you as soon as I get out of bed. And then usually every morning I go to a group meeting with like-minded. And to me, that's maintenance. That's my spiritual maintenance. And then I make sure that I eat decent food and I don't have too much coffee. So I'm realizing that my mind, my body, my spirit, and my emotions, they have to be balanced, and I have to maintain all of that. And for me, it's all about loving myself and then honoring the spirit and,
Yes.
and realize why I'm here. I'm not here for me. I'm here for a much bigger picture. And I was so thankful when I finally got selfishness and thought my life about me. So I'm learning more and more that I need to be inside myself. This is like an inside job. I need to go inside, and I need to have a communication with and ask myself, where am I right now? And I'm learning more and more through meditation that sometimes I don't know, my humanness doesn't know what I need, but my spiritual self does. So there's 2 different communications going on. And lots of times there's a communication underneath the surface of the communication. And that's the one that I'm really connected to. So it's helping me in meditation. I'm meditating now at least 2 hours a day. And where at one time was much, much shorter. And through my meditations and whatnot, I want to say it was no mistake how I found this group. Okay, this came through, I manifested the group. And I can't believe the very thing, the experience I need to go through will come through by asking for it. And it didn't happen overnight, but I'm learning more and more to let go of my fears and to let go of those parts of me that were controlling me. And all I was doing was looping, and I was doing things that weren't working for me. So it's just really, really helps me to be with like-minded people, learn to know what surrender really is. And being in this group is like osmosis. Just listening and being here expands my thought and expands things that I can't fully explain. I don't know how it works. To me, it's a miracle, but it's just, and that's the miracle of life, and that's the joy and the happiness and whatnot that is like emanating from it. I'm not creating it per se from my physical human form. There's other energy centers that I'm learning through my chakras, and it will depend on what kind of a meditation I listen to. I may have to go through some anger. I may have to cry. I may get frustrated, and that will bring on something different. And I realize we all have energy, and depending on who I'm with, will bring out certain things. And that is a miracle in itself. And I finally understood this. So I don't know. I just love being here. I love what's happening, and just stick around, and it'll definitely rub off on you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. Thank you. Today, Ken is on fire, right? He's the one that talked about textures, like feel the texture, imagine it. That's what, like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, the thought is what is going to attract whatever we want to manifest. But to pull it into existence is the emotional field. So until we can emotionally feel what we want, just like me with my joy for wild blueberries, that pull, just a thought, you know, that's my dessert and how much I look forward to it. Even though it's medicinal, like if you drink it, it's like a medicine because it's got cilantro in it and barley grass juice powder in it. So it's like, it's medicinal, but it's my dessert. It's my joy for the week. And that pulled what I needed. So looking forward to everybody pulling things out of the quantum field into their present moment, because in your presence, in your high vibrational state is where the power is. The power is in your high vibrational state, in your presence. Dr. Joe Dispenza may say faster frequencies, or Eckhart may say presence, awareness, mindfulness community may say awareness, Abraham Hicks may say inner being. Everything is one and the same thing. So eternally grateful to all of you that have joined today. Michelle, Ken, Caesar, so grateful. Patricia, thank you so much for keep firing those questions so we could keep the conversation going. Eternally grateful. Thank you so much. And eternally grateful to everyone out there as well. Louise, Mike, Summer, everyone that has attended virtually, right? So have a spectacular day, week, and many blessings. And we'll see you in another week, the upcoming Wednesday. Good night. Thank you. Bye. Much love.